I want you to, picture a very specific scene for a moment. You are sitting in your living room, maybe reading or watching TV, and suddenly there is a loud, unexpected knock at your front door.
Yeah, and we all know how that usually goes with a typical dog.
Right, exactly. You know the drill. The vocalization starts immediately. It's the frantic scrambling of paws on the hardwood floor, the high-pitched barking, the lunging at the window blinds. It's
Pure chaos.
complete chaos. But in this scenario, you share your home with a 90-pound dog. And instead of sounding the alarm or, completely losing its mind, this massive animal just quietly, deliberately rises from its bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it places itself directly between you and that front door. It doesn't bark. It just stands there, watching, waiting for the person on the other side to make the next move.
You see, it changes the entire temperature of the room. The situation shifts instantly from this chaotic reactive energy to a state of highly concentrated silent assessment.
And that specific image is just the perfect entry point for our mission today. We are doing an in-depth exploration into the everyday reality of living with a cane corso. Because, this is not your standard companion breed.
Not at all.
This deep dive is really a masterclass in understanding the intersection of ancient canine instincts and modern domestic life. So whether you are a prospective owner, an experienced dog enthusiast, or simply someone fascinated by animal psychology, this deep dive is going to completely reframe how you think about tough-looking dogs and the humans who hold their leashes. Okay, let's unpack this. We have to figure out where that silent, watchful behavior at the door actually originates.
Well, to map that out, we have to look at the genetic architecture of the breed. Because that quiet, buffering behavior, it isn't the result of an obedience class. It is the breed's historical baseline. The Cane Corso is a Molosser dog developed in rural Italy. Their entire historical resume is built around being a utilitarian estate guardian. They protected property, they guarded livestock against predators, and they even assisted farmers and hunters in subduing large, dangerous game like wild boar.
So they were engineered for high stakes, physically demanding work that required a very specific kind of nerve.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that every single part of daily life with this dog traces directly back to that specific rural working heritage. When they hunted boar or protected a farmstead, running around barking frantically would have been a massive liability.
Right, that makes sense.
They were bred to be an active, calculating barrier between their family, their territory, and the unpredictable outside world. They're meant to hold the line, not, sound a panic alarm.
It makes me think of a professional bouncer at an exclusive nightclub.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, the bouncer isn't the noisy alarm system blaring above the door. They are the quiet, assessing physical presence standing at the velvet rope. The mere physical presence is the deterrent.
Right.
And a good bouncer is constantly reading the room, analyzing microexpressions and body language before deciding if a threat is actually credible.
A bouncer isn't panicked by a crowded room. They are highly observant of it. And when someone knocks on your front door, a Cane Corso is doing the exact same thing. They're positioning themselves to gather data.
Like listening to the footsteps.
Listening to the footsteps, smelling the air under the door, waiting for your reaction. They do all of that before they commit to a physical response.
I'm struggling to reconcile something here, though. Wait, so if they are these independent, stoic, working dogs, I assume they are perfectly fine being left alone in the backyard all day, just patrolling by themselves?
Oh, man. That assumption is one of the most common and disastrous traps new owners fall into.
Wait, really?
Yes. We confuse independent problem-solving with solitary living. Despite their formidable exterior, the Cane Corso was bred to work in tandem with humans. They formed a working partnership with the Italian farmer or hunter. They are deeply, deeply pack-oriented.
So the instinct to guard is tied directly to the presence of the thing they are guarding, which is their people.
Yes, and when you remove the people, you remove their anchor. Extended isolation without rigorous behavioral conditioning just spikes their cortisol levels.
Oh, wow.
If you leave a Cane Corso alone in a backyard for 10 hours a day, they don't become a better guard dog. They become a highly stressed, anxious animal. And that anxiety often manifests as severe destructive behavior or indiscriminate territorial aggression.
That sounds dangerous.
It is. They require overlapping family schedules, midday dog walkers, or an owner who works from home. The human connection is not optional. It is a biological requirement.
If managing their psychological environment is that demanding, we have to look at the physical spaces they share with us. Where can a dog with this kind of territorial instinct actually thrive? Because technically, I do see people keeping large Molosser breeds in city apartments.
While technically possible, keeping a Cane Corso in an apartment requires a borderline Herculean effort from the owner.
Yeah.
You are literally fighting their biology.
Because they don't have a territory.
Right. Without a territory to patrol, the owner has to manufacture rigorous physical and mental stimulation every single day. Realistically, to maintain a balanced dog and a sane owner, this breed needs a house with a dedicated yard.
And regarding that yard, if I have a 90-pound dog whose literal genetic purpose is to assess and neutralize threats to the perimeter, a standard chain link or flimsy wooden fence isn't going to hold up.
No, secure containment is a non-negotiable reality of owning this breed. But it's not just about building a stronger wall, it's about understanding barrier frustration.
Barrier frustration.
Yeah. Because they have a natural wariness of unfamiliar people and animals, a chain link fence can actually be a massive problem. It gives the dog full visual access to potential threats walking by, but prevents them from physically investigating.
Oh, I see. They're seeing the trigger but can't complete the behavioral loop.
Exactly. This builds intense psychological frustration, which is why a solid privacy fence of significant height is highly recommended. You aren't just containing their physical mass, you are managing their visual environment to keep their baseline arousal levels low.
Makes sense.
This ties into the urban versus rural dynamic, too. Historically, they belong in rural settings with clear, expansive territories. They can adapt to suburban environments, but only if the owner acts as a constant buffer, interpreting the densely packed modern world for a dog wired for ancient rural isolation.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. We're talking about this rugged, resilient, working farm dog. You'd think a big, tough Italian farm dog built to pin wild boar could easily handle whatever Mother Nature throws at it, right?
You'd think so, but their physiology actually creates some very specific vulnerabilities, particularly concerning thermodynamics. Let's look at heat first. A Cane Corso carries an immense amount of dense muscle mass, and muscle generates internal heat.
Right.
Furthermore, their skull structure often features slight brachycephalic traits, meaning a somewhat shorter, broader muzzle compared to a German Shepherd or a wolf.
So their airway is slightly compacted.
Yes. And dogs cool themselves primarily through panting, which exchanges hot air from the lungs with cooler outside air across the mucous membranes of the mouth and nasal passages.
Okay.
Because of their sheer body mass and somewhat restricted airway, the Cane Corso is remarkably inefficient at this heat exchange. In high humidity or heat, they are highly susceptible to heat stroke. You really have to restrict their activity to the early mornings or late evenings and manage their environment carefully.
Okay, so the thermodynamics work against them in the summer, but they originated in Italy, which gets plenty cold in the mountainous regions.
Yeah,
How do they handle winter?
they struggle there too because of their coat structure. They possess a short, tight coat without the dense, insulating undercoat you'd find on a husky or a Malamute.
Oh, the fluffy layer.
Right. An undercoat traps dead air against the skin, acting as thermal insulation. The Corso doesn't have that layer, so in freezing temperatures, their core heat escapes quickly. Many owners in northern climates find that their guardian dog genuinely requires a well-fitted, insulated coat for winter walks.
I have to say, the image of a massive stoic estate guardian wearing a fitted winter puffer jacket is fantastic.
It's quite a sight.
It's a stark reminder that they aren't invincible. The silver lining, I imagine, is that the lack of an undercoat makes grooming a breeze.
It really is the one low-maintenance aspect of the breed. Only a thorough weekly brushing is usually needed to remove dead hair and distribute skin oils, maybe bumping up slightly during spring and fall coat transitions.
So we understand the physical environment, the temperature constraints, and the containment logistics. But no household exists in a vacuum. The outside world is eventually going to enter that environment. Let's look at the family dynamic first. How does a dog wired for guarding interact with the chaotic, unpredictable nature of small kids?
The breed is famous for its profound loyalty, and they typically view the children in their own household as core members of their flock. They are remarkably gentle and patient with their own family's children.
That's reassuring.
However, supervision is mandatory, and it has nothing to do with malice. It comes down to basic biomechanics.
Right, because a 90-pound object moving at 15 miles per hour carries immense kinetic energy. It's like operating a piece of heavy machinery in a room with a toddler. The machine isn't malicious toward the toddler, but an unintentional bump from a 90-pound dog is a matter of pure physics.
Exactly. You have to manage the physical space between them constantly to prevent blunt force accidents. Now, that's with the children they consider their own. When visitors enter the home, the dynamic changes entirely.
Because the bouncer we talked about earlier is officially on duty.
Remember, the default genetic setting for a Cane Corso is wariness toward the unfamiliar. You cannot just fling your front door open and allow a group of friends to rush into the hallway and reach out to pet the dog. That is a recipe for a defensive bite.
Wow. So how does an owner actually manage that introduction? What is the dog looking for?
Well, the dog is running a complex assessment algorithm, and they are using the owner as their primary data source. Introductions must be highly structured and positive. The dog needs to observe a calm, neutral greeting between you and the guest.
Like they're reading my stress levels.
Yes, the dog is watching your respiration rate, your shoulder tension, the tone of your voice. If you are anxious, the dog interprets the guest as a legitimate threat. Once the dog sees you are relaxed, you allow the dog to approach the guest at its own pace. They must never be crowded, cornered, or subjected to intense eye contact from a stranger until they have finished their assessment.
That covers humans. What about other animals? If I want a multi-pet household, or if I'm just walking down the street and someone's off-leash dog runs up to us, what is the behavioral reality?
As a general rule, getting along with other dogs varies, but a Cane Corso will show assertiveness toward unfamiliar dogs, particularly those of the same sex.
So no dog parks.
Yeah, this is absolutely not a breed you take to a crowded, chaotic dog park.
As for small animals like cats, you have to look at the predatory motor sequence.
A prey drive.
Yes. Canine prey drive is a sequence of behaviors, orient, eye, stalk, chase, grab, bite, and kill bite. Because of their history hunting large game, the Cane Corso has a highly activated orient, chase, and grab bite instinct.
Yikes.
Now, if they are raised with a cat from the time they're a young puppy, during their critical socialization window of 3 to 14 weeks, they can form neural pathways that categorize the cat as family.
But if they're older,
If you try to introduce a fleeing cat to an adult Corso, that movement bypasses their logic center and triggers the chase sequence directly. It is incredibly risky. If they're a listener hearing all this, the sheer physical mass, the intense wariness of strangers, the activated prey drive, it sounds incredibly intimidating. Some people might hear this and think, wow, this is just an aggressive dog.
yeah, and if we connect it to the bigger picture, it is vital to separate protective watchfulness from unpredictable aggression. They're entirely different neurological states. A well-bred, well-socialized Cane Corso displays calm attentiveness. They are highly observant, yes, but they are grounded and emotionally stable. They're not looking for a fight, they're looking for order.
So if someone has a Cane Corso that is constantly lunging, highly reactive, or showing unpredictable aggression, they shouldn't just wave it off and say, that's just how the breed is.
No, that is a dangerous, negligent excuse.
Hmm.
True, unprovoked aggression is a flaw. Any genuine behavioral concerns should be handled immediately by a veterinary behaviorist or a qualified trainer.
And a vet behaviorist is different from a regular trainer, right?
Completely different. A veterinary behaviorist is not just a dog trainer with a clicker. They are a doctor of veterinary medicine who specializes in neurobiology and psychopharmacology. They can determine if the reactivity is due to a neurological misfire, an underlying thyroid issue, or chronic pain, rather than just bad training.
If managing the behavioral environment is a full-time job, I have to imagine the physical scale of this dog fundamentally changes the economics of owning them. A 90-pound dog doesn't just eat more kibble. The entire logistical scale must shift. Let's talk about travel and boarding first. I can't just toss this dog into the backseat of a compact car.
You really can't. In an automotive accident, an unrestrained 90-pound dog becomes a fatal projectile. You need a vehicle with significant cargo space, and you have to invest in heavy-duty, crash-tested harnesses or structural transport crates. And if you have to leave town without the dog, boarding becomes a highly complex issue.
Because dropping a hyper-observant guard dog into a noisy commercial doggy daycare with 50 other dogs sounds like a sensory nightmare.
It is a disaster. High-sensory environments overwhelm their assessment algorithms. They are surrounded by unfamiliar dogs, unfamiliar humans, and constant noise. This spikes their cortisol, and they often default to defensive reactivity.
So what's the alternative?
They require trusted, familiar pet sitters who stay in your home, or facilities specializing in large guardian breeds.
And I'm assuming those specialized services come with a premium price tag. Which brings us to the financial reality. We know big dogs eat a lot, but what are the hidden costs of a giant breed?
It is a massive, ongoing financial commitment. Because of their rapid growth rate and sheer adult weight, giant breeds are prone to specific orthopedic issues, like hip dysplasia or cruciate ligament tears.
Ouch.
Yeah. If a cane corso needs a TPLO surgery to repair a torn knee ligament, you are looking at thousands of dollars. Beyond surgery, everything is dosed by weight. If they need a simple anti-inflammatory or monthly heartworm preventatives, the dosage for a 100-pound dog costs exponentially more than for a 30-pound dog. The financial commitment is relentless.
With all of these specialized vet needs, strict weight management to protect their joints, ongoing behavioral training, how does an owner even keep their head above water?
Organization is critical. Many owners utilize digital management tools, like the VitalPet app, to centralize their dog's logistics.
Oh, like tracking appointments.
Exactly. You can track vet appointments, check their weight curve over time, log grooming, and set reminders for large breed-specific supplements or meds.
It offloads the mental bandwidth required to manage an animal this complex.
Yes, but with a strict caveat. No app replaces a licensed vet or professional trainer, especially regarding behavior and health. An app can remind you to give a joint supplement, but it cannot diagnose an irregular gait, and it certainly cannot help you modify a behavioral issue.
So we have mapped out the physical weight, the financial weight, and the psychological weight of this breed. It is a staggering amount of responsibility. Let's look at the owner's resume. Who is actually qualified to hold the leash?
The ideal owner is someone who has prior experience with large, strong-willed breeds. This is not a dog you learn on. Right. The owner must understand operant conditioning and genuinely enjoy ongoing structured training as a daily lifestyle. They need the physical capability to safely manage a massive animal and the emotional regulation to act as a calm leader.
And conversely, who should absolutely reconsider and cross the Cane Corso off their list?
First-time dog owners? Absolutely. Also passive owners or anyone looking for a low-maintenance companion.
What are some common mistakes even well-meaning people make?
Underestimating the dog's adult physical strength is a big one. Also relying on weak fences, treating training as optional, and treating socialization as a one-time puppy phase instead of a lifelong practice.
So what does this all mean for the life cycle of the dog? Let me push back on the idea of training. Is there ever a point, maybe when the dog turns 3 or 4 years old, where an owner can just dust off their hands and say, all right, training is done, we're good to go?
Oh, that is the single biggest trap an owner can fall into. And this raises an important question about our relationship with working breeds. Socialization is a perishable skill.
Wait, really?
Yes. The Cane Corso's instinct to be wary of strangers solidifies as they reach social maturity around 2 to 3 years of age. If you stop actively exposing them to new positive experiences, their world shrinks.
And when their world shrinks, anything outside of that small bubble becomes a threat.
Exactly. Without ongoing positive exposure, their hardwired genetics take the wheel, and that natural wariness turns into a liability. The commitment to training and socialization must be lifelong to prevent severe reactivity. The work never truly stops.
It's like a muscle. If you don't actively use it, it atrophies. Only in this case, the atrophy results in a 90-pound behavioral liability.
But for the right owner, that ongoing work is exactly what forges such an unbreakable bond. You aren't just walking a dog, you're constantly communicating with a highly intelligent partner.
And that really synthesizes the core truth of this deep dive. The Cane Corso offers extraordinary, unmatched loyalty and a profoundly rewarding relationship. But that reward is only unlocked for a household willing to match the dog's intensity with immense physical, financial, and behavioral responsibility.
That's exactly it.
I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to mull over. For centuries, humanity selectively engineered these dogs to have these incredibly specific, hardwired guarding instincts to execute high-stakes work on rural Italian farms. When we take a creature bred for ancient, high-stakes rural work and drop them into a modern suburban lifestyle filled with delivery drivers and neighborhood dog walkers, are we asking them to suppress their very nature, or are we witnessing the ultimate proof of canine adaptability? It's something to consider the next time you walk past a house and see a massive dog quietly, deliberately standing guard at the front window. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.